Epa. Hmm. Let me You are creating object separate like configuration file. You auto write that file. There you are writing the web client builder, giving the URL. Yes, sir. Get it output right. Load balance na? Balance or no balance? Balance I think. Okay, fine. TN client no need, right? I told na. I told right. Those are friends. Sureka and Sureka. ఈ సురేఖ గారు వచ్చినారా ఈ సురేఖ గారు ఎక్కడ ఏడి పాప సర్లే జరుగుతారు Okay, then. Right, topic is what? Morning class is load balance. NDV. Topic. What's the topic? Morning class communication load balancing is done. ఏమా టాపిక్ చెప్పండి మీద స్టార్ట్ చేస్తా ఐ టోల్ టాపిక్ వన్ టాపిక్ టెల్ మీ ఇంద్రా గేట్ గేట్ ఇప్పుడు వద్దులేదు గేట్ తర్వాత పెడదాం ముందు కన్స్ట్రక్షన్ అయ్యింది లోపల అంటే gate will put later. First, building construction should be completed. Then only you can do the compound wall. First compound wall, then building. Security gate will put last. First security gate, then compound wall first, then building next. Building first, compound wall next. What is wrong? First of all, clear. Building and rooms and all are ready. Then you can go for what? Gate. I understood. You're not able to decide a topic. Let me check. Sureka is important, right? Eureka. Now you'll get the fault tolerance. Fault tolerance. Circuit breaker, resonance force. Hey, fault tolerance, guys. The fault tolerance is handled by circuit breaker. What breaker? Circuit breaker. Resonance force is like circuit breaker design pattern. So we are going for the fault tolerance. Fault tolerance is what we need to handle the failures. We need to handle what? Failures. See guys, first one you go for the cascading failure. What is a cascading failure means like failure of see microservice communication on microservice communicate with what? Another microservice. On microservice communicate with what? Another microservice. Cascading failure means if you take the ABC microservices, A communicate with B communicate with what? C failed. C what? Failed. Once the C failed means what? C dependent service is what? B failed. B dependent service is what? A. Because A depends on what? B depends on what? C. Then what happened? C failed. C failed means what? Once the service is failed, the dependent service also automatically failed. C failed means then what happened here? B failed. B failed means what happened here? A failed. Then entire system is failed. That is called cascading failure. The failure of one service will affect the failure of what? Another service leads the chain reaction. Go for what? Entire system is crashed. Entire system is what? Crashed. That is called what failure, guys? Cascading failures. Failure of one microservice causes like what? Failure of what? Dependent microservice. The chain reaction leads to what? Entire system breaking down. That is called what? What the concept is here? Cascading failures. Cascading failures. That is called cascading failures. The failure of one microservice depends on one microservice. Called cascading what? Failures. To handle these cascading failures, yes, you are going for resonance forces circuit breaker design pattern. What breaker, ma? Lena. Hmm. Topic is what? No? That is called what? Cascading? Cascading failures, right? What failures are? Cascading failures. Got it. అసలు ఎక్కడ ఎదగబోతుంది అసలు అది మధ్య Okay, fine. Yes, that is called cascading failure. The failure of one microservice leads failure of dependent services. The chain reaction leads to what entire system is failed. That is called what? Cascading failure, right? To handle cascading failure, guys, you are going for the circuit breaker design pattern. Resilience 4J is a library. Resilience 4J is a library. The library is providing the circuit breaker design pattern to handle the cascading failures. To handle what? Cascading failures. See guys, cascading failures. Cascading what? Failures. To handle what concept of cascading failures, right? Exactly. So how the circuit breaker design pattern is works, we need to understand guys. Circuit breaker, the name itself is like circuit. We have open circuit and closed circuit, right? Electrical student. But in we sorry, electrical sir. Sir, except sir, and open circuit and closed circuit. Open circuit means what? Understand? What is open circuit? Open circuit and closed circuit. Open circuit means current flow is done. Closed circuit current flow done. Open circuit means current flow is done, not done. Not done. Closed circuit is closed circuit lo current cheyidda. Closed circuit lo current cheyidda. Elladu kada. Ellidamma. A closed circuit current is what? Flow. See that? See that is circuit breaker design pattern, guys. To understand circuit breaker design pattern, we have the open circuit and the closed circuit. Open circuit and what? Closed circuit. Open circuit means here like this we have the open circuit. The open circuit and it's not to this is called what? Open circuit or closed circuit? Open circuit means current flow, current stop. This is what? Closed. Closed circuit means current is what? Flow. See, the circuit design pattern is working on the open circuit and closed circuit flow, guys. Open circuit means the circuit is open mode and the current is what? Flow done, not flow now. Not flow. This is what closed circuit. Open circuit and what? Closed circuit. See, a circuit breaker design pattern contains three states actually. How many states now? Three states. State one is one is a closed state. One is what state? Closed state. One is a closed state. Is the closed state. Second one is the open state. This is a closed state. This is called what? Open state. This is called half open state. Closed, open, it half open. Closed, open, what? Half open. Closed, closed, open, half open. There are three states of circuit breaker. We are understanding circuit breaker concept. Why the circuit breaker concept means? To go for what? Fault tolerance. Fault tolerance. Very interesting guys. Microservices are very interesting. This is fault tolerance. See, by default, your microservice is a closed circuit. Your microservice is a closed means your microservice is a closed. Closed means what? Current flow is done or not done? Current, you are closed or not closed? Where in closed? Closed means what? Current. Current what? Move, should move. Move that. Move. Close means what? Hey, close means what? Guys, current what? Current flow is happening. That is a closed circuit. See, your microservices by default, closed circuit, guys, closed circuit and closed state. Your microservice is a closed state means your microservice is a closed state. It allows all the calls from the client. Current flowing is something about what? It allows one call, all calls from the client. It allows all the calls from the client. It allows all the calls from the client. That is called closed, guys. That is called what? Closed. That is called what? Closed. See, if you take the Avinash is now in the closed state. Now closed state means what? He's taking one call, all calls are. He's taking all the calls. He's taking what? All the calls. Guys, see, I will tell you some failure rate threshold. Failure rate what threshold effort. Failure rate threshold means I will give the failure rate threshold is 50% SU. Failure rate 50% in the sense You got the 10 calls. How many calls, ma? 10 calls. Out of 10 calls, failure rate threshold, I be given how much? Let's say 50%. 5 or more than 5 calls are failed. 5 calls are like 6 calls are failed. 5 to 6 calls are what? Failed. So, what happened? Avinash is initially what state? Closure state. Closure state, I written the failure rate threshold. I given the failure threshold. What the failure rate threshold here? Avinash failure microservice failure rate threshold is how much? 50%. I think. It means what? Avinash is not able to take the 50% calls. He's not responding for the last 50 calls. 50% calls are not responding. Once he's not responding for the 50 calls, guys. Once he's not responding for what? 50 calls. Once he's not responding for how many calls a month? 50 calls. Then what we will do? Then you decided that microservice is entering to closed state to what state among? Open state. Closed state to what state? Open state. After how much time? After 50% calls are what? Failed. So we have like one concept like sliding window size. Sliding window size. Sliding window size I decided like time now. Sliding window size is 10 means based on these 10 calls, last 10 calls, we decided sliding window what size? Yes, sliding window size in the sense like Avinash got the last 10 calls. Out of 10 calls, 6 calls are failed. 6 calls are failed means what? Failure rate is more than 50, right? Yes or no? Last how many calls you are deciding failure on the failure, that is called sliding window size. Assume that I given the sliding window size is 100. Sliding window size is 100 means then what happened tell me? Sliding window size 100 means last 100 calls, 60 calls are failed. We last 100 calls, how many calls are failed? If 60 calls are failed or 51 calls are failed, then I decided what? This microservice is failed. It is entering to what? Closed state to what state of what state? Open state. That is called failure rate threshold. Sir, 50% you said, sir. How much 50% is, sir? Based on what? Sliding window size. Sliding window size, how much here? 100. 100 means what? It is taking the last 100 calls. Last 100 calls, out of 100 calls, how many calls are failed? 60, 51 call failed also. Failure rate is how much? 50% is right. Your grade 51 calls are failed means what? Your 51% is done. Then what? You enter into closed state to what state? Open state. When your microservice is entering to the closed state to open state, once the failure rate threshold is completed, I given the failure rate threshold. How many failures you done? Then you enter into what state? Open state. What state guys? Yeah. Now we are in open state. When the microservice enter into open state, guys, all the team will get the mail saying that your microservice is what? Down. Microservice is what? Down. Here you understand that one call is failed, it is not entering to what? Open state. You cannot say one call means what? You don't ignore billions of requests like one calls, two calls is not a problem. You make the failure rate threshold. Failure rate threshold how much? 50% I taken. 50% means what? Out of last 10,000 calls, how many calls now? 10,000 calls, 5,000 calls are failed, then immediately that the microservice is failed. Microservice is entering to what? Closed state to what state is here? Open state. Open state. What is the sliding window size? What is sliding window size? The last sliding window size is the last how many calls we decided that what service is failed. Last how many calls I taken? 100 calls. Failure rate threshold how much? 50. It means last how many calls are failed is entered to close to open. 51 calls are failed, it is entered to what? If for example sliding window size is 10 I taken, then last how many calls it will take? See, it will decide closer to open state how many calls. How many calls? Based on how many calls? And based on how many calls means that calls are depends on what your sliding window size calls. How many calls? Yeah. But then once the failure rate is more, failure rate is less or more. Failure rate is more means then what happened? Closer to open state. Because you tell like this should be how much time it is open state. That is called wait duration open state. Second property. Wait duration in what state? Open state. You make the open state 30 seconds. You enter into what state? Open state. How many seconds? 30 seconds. How many seconds are? That is called second property. Wait duration in open state. Wait duration in open state. So see guys, you are normal, Sandeep. Naveen is normal, very normal. He is what ma? Very normal. Sir, can I have what's closed state? What state? Closed state. Closed state. Slowly, what? Favor again. What is coming? Favor coming. Slowly, favor is coming. Means then what happened? You are not able to handle the 50% weight. Then it decides what? It decides you are from what? Closed state to open. When it is entering to closed state to open state. Where the failure rate threshold is more than 50%. Based on the sliding window size, it's entering to closed state to what? Open state. How much time it is there in the open state we should specify. My microcell should be there in open state how many seconds? 30 seconds. After 30 seconds. After 30 seconds. Then what it will do? You are down, service is down. Then how much time it is in the open state? After 30 seconds, guys. Next property is like automatic transition from open state to half open state. Automatic transition from what? Open state to after 30 seconds, this open state becomes half open state automatically. What state to what state? Open state to half open state. This is like automatic transfer of open state to what? Half open state. Half open state means like you are in what state? Half open state. A closed state means you are taking how many calls? All calls. Open state means any call. Closed state means you are closed circuit. Closed circuit means one call, all calls are. Open is one call, all calls are. No calls. Because based on priority, debugging. Based on priority and priority. A closer means how many calls expecting? Open means one calls. Open means it takes some calls. Taking what some calls. See guys, you are close, you take all. But you got a fever, you went to hospital. Hospital, are you lifting any weights? No. Hospital, you are not taking any calls, you are in hospital. Then after few days, hospital, how many seconds? 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, your hospital to directly home care. Hospital to again you are entering towards it, half open state. After hospital, you come back to the home, directly lift all the weight, you will take only some weight. That is called half open state. Half open state means what? He will take only some weight. Some weight means that is next property you have to tell. Number of calls allowed in half open state. Number of calls allowed in what? See, closed state, number of calls you specify, any number of calls it can handle. Exactly. Any number of calls it can handle. Open state, any calls are handled. Half open state, how many calls you have to handle, you tell. Otherwise, if you didn't tell how many calls you should handle, all the load is coming immediately. Just now it is coming from what? Hospital, right? Just now it is coming from where? Just now it is coming from hospital, directly are giving entire load means what? Again go to hospital. Very well. Yes. All about microservice. Uric acid important, not important. Today, circuit breaker important, not important. Wait, last time we don't have this all the concept. Directly request not received, you are failed, you are dead. Right? It is possible. But these days very dangerous. I tell you. ఇప్పుడు మీకు బుక్ మై మీకు ఎంత ఈ సర్కిల్ బ్రేకర్ మీకు ఓలా క్యాబ్ ఊబర్స్ స్విగ్గీ జొమాటో ఇదంతా ఇదే ఉంటుంది. I will tell you one thing. You have the Uber Ola ఉంది కదా. In Uber Ola you are seeing that 10 cabs are there, 10 autos are there. When you are trying to book, no one is booking, right? Anyone is booked or not booked? But really data is it has to book na. And the data on the anta dummy. Or what? That is like circuit breaker handling. I will tell you what is that process. First one is what? What state? Closed state. What call allowed? All calls allowed. Failure rate threshold is more. Sliding last how many calls you are taking? 100 calls. 51 calls are failed. Then what happened? Closed state to open state. How much time you are in the open state? 30 seconds. That is the open wait duration in the open state. 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, is entering to what? Open state to after automatic transition from open state to half open state. Automatic transfer. So in half open state, all calls allowed. Some calls are allowed. You tell how many calls are allowed. Number of calls allowed in half open states. Assume that 5 calls. Assume that you've given us 6 calls or 5 calls. How many calls? 5 calls. In these 5 calls, now my microservice can handle how many calls? 5 calls. Out of 5 calls, 4 calls are success. How many 5 calls? Out of 5 calls, what? 4 calls are success. Out of 5 calls, 5 calls are success, 4 calls are success. Failure rate threshold, how much guys here? 50%, right? 5 calls are success, 4 calls are success means what? Success rate is a 70 to 80%, right? Then automatically it's half open state entering towards state, closed state. It can take all the calls. But it is in the half open state, you are sending the 5 calls, out of 5 calls, 5 calls are failed. Out of 5 calls, what happened? Again entering towards state, Again entering open state. Again it will wait open state, how many seconds? 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, automatically come towards state, half open state. Again half open state, all the calls allowed, some calls allowed. Based on the some calls, again we decide it has to enter into what? Closed or open. Closed or what? Like that, it will handle the failures gracefully. Here if you observe, first it is failure, failure rate is also failure rate threshold is more entry to what? Open state. They are giving the time to team to recover from this what? Open state. Open state automatically transition from what state? Half open. Half open, all the calls allowed, some calls allowed. Some calls allowed. But some calls are good, then go for what state? It means slowly that degradation comes from what? Real usage. And then you want slow way. First it is an open state. Again what? Half open state. Half open state, one call or some calls are. Some calls go to loading use go for what state? Open state. It means what? Slowly it is entering to what? That is called states of what circuit breaker. What breaker? Circuit breaker, how many states are there? 3 states. A circuit, this is called circuit breaker. Circuit breaker, using this circuit breaker design pattern, we are handling the failures gracefully. We are handling the failures of what? What the first state? Closed state. Open state. Half open state. Closed state. Open state. Your microservice initially what state? Closed state. Failure rate threshold is more than failure rate threshold is more. Failures are more than failure rate threshold. Failure is more than. You are making one threshold. You specify that you have the chance 50% up to 50% chance is there. But he got 50%, 60%. Then failure is what? More than? Failure is more than what? Failure threshold. If the failure is more than failure rate threshold, then what happened? It is entering to open state to open state to close. Closed state to closed state to open state. Like this is a closed state to what? Open state. See, there is a states like closed state, open state, half open state. Closed state and open state and what? Hey, now you write in the screen. After discussion the air. Now we go for the screen. One is what? Closed state. After closed state, second state is what? Open state. Open state, third state is what? Half open state. First initially your microservice in what state? Closed state. Closed state means one call allowed, all calls are allowed. Closed state means all calls are what? Allowed. Open state means what? When it is entering to closer to open, then the values are more than failure rate threshold. Failure rate is what? Threshold. and you go for open state to what? Closed state. How much time it is a closed state? Closed state to what? Open state means any calls are expecting a? No. Open state no calls are expecting, right? No calls are what? Taken. You are in hospital bed. Hospital bed means any calls are taken? No. Then how much time your hospital bed? 30 seconds. 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, automatically transfer from what? Open state to half open state means how many calls are allowed? Half open means some calls are allowed. Some calls are what? What some calls are allowed means what? If some calls are allowed, 5 calls, but failure rate is less means then what happened? Open half open state to close. Failure rate again more means half open state to what? It's like circuit breaker will work. This is the way how the circuit breaker will work when the process what going to be the process. That is the way I can see. That is what am yeah. Closed state to how many possibilities we have? Closed state microservice can enter into what state? Huh? Open state microservice can enter into what state? Can enter into closed state? Open state microservice can enter into closed state. You are in hospital. Hospital directly weightlifting. No. Half open state to what state is possible? Half open state is possible. Half open state to what states are possible? Huh? Exactly. Closed state or what? Open state. Hey, how many properties are written for this example here? First property is what? I told the first property is what? Failure rate threshold, FTR. Failure rate threshold. Failure rate threshold, how much is given here? 50%. This is one of the property you have to mention. And how many calls you have decided power 8? How many calls? All calls. Failure rate threshold. No. How many calls it will decide you enter to close to open state? Failure rate threshold, how much? 50%. That is like specific number of calls, last calls. Last how many calls? That name is called sliding window size. Sliding window size I specified how much guys here? 100. It means what? Last 100 calls you please consider. Second property. Third property is what? Wait duration in what? Half of open state. Wait duration open state. How much time you are in the open state? 30 seconds. Fourth property is what? Automatic transition from open state to half open state is like true. It means automatic transition from open state to what? Half open state. Last one is what guys here? Number of calls. Number of calls allowed in what? Half open state. Hey, these 5 properties are important, guys. These 5 properties only will decide circuit breaker concept. Right? So one is what? Failure rate. What are properties? Tell me first. Failure rate threshold. It means failure threshold is what? Your microservice failures are more than your failure rate what? More than failure rate threshold. Then it is what? What state? Open state. Second thing. Sliding window size means last how many calls you decided your failure or not. Next one, next property. Failure rate threshold. Failure rate threshold is the first property, right? Sliding window size is the second property. Third property is what? Failure duration. How much time it should be there in the open state? 30 seconds fixed. They'll decide on. Fixed, not fixed, guys. They will decide. Next one. That's it. మీకు ఏంటి తొందరగా చూస్తున్నారు అనుకుంటున్నాను. ఇప్పుడు ఫస్ట్ ప్రాపర్టీ చెప్పండి. Failure rate threshold. What is the purpose of failure rate threshold? The failure threshold. Second one is what? Last how many calls you will decide the network failures, right? Third one is what? How much time you are in the open state. Next one. Automatic transition from after 30 seconds, it is automatically transition from the half open state to half open state. Number of calls. Number of calls allowed in what? Very nice. Five properties I could get from. First, how many states are there? First state? Closed state means what? All calls are allowed. Next one. What translate from what state to what state possible? Closed to open possible. You are not told. Standard. What state to what state transition are telling?
Close to open,
Close to open.
open to half open,
Open to half open. Half open to
open to half open allowed.
half open to half open allowed. After that.
After that, half open to open allowed and half open to open allowed.
Both are open.
Half open to open allowed.
Half open to
Open.
open allowed. When? Sad. I am sarcastic. Uh, sad. It was it possible. When close to open state possible. When it will enter into open, closer to open. Your failure state rate is more than what? Failure rate thresholds. Nice. Enter to open state. It will discuss it. Half. Hey. సరిగ్గా చెప్పు నేను సార్ చెప్పు when it is entered into closed state to open state your failures are more than the failure rate threshold. Nice.
Of course, some of the
ఎక్కడ దాకా వచ్చింది ఎవరు ఓపెన్ ఒకటే కదా వెళ్ళిపోయింది తర్వాత ఆటోమేటిక్ ట్రాన్సిషన్ ఫ్రమ్ ఓపెన్ టు ఆఫ్ క్లోజ్ కి వస్తుంది ఆఫ్టర్ దట్ ఆఫ్టర్ ఓపెన్ స్టేట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ టేకింగ్ ఆల్ ద కాల్స్ సమ్ కాల్స్ చెప్పరా ఏంటి ఏంటిరా రావట్లేదు పెట్టి పైకి రావట్లేదు కదా చెప్పి ఏదో చెప్పండి అది సక్సెస్ అయితే క్లోజ్ వెళ్ళింది మళ్ళీ ఫెయిల్యూర్స్ ఎక్కువ చెప్పు ఫెయిల్యూర్ is more than what failure rate threshold. Wait, Bella? See guys, the point is like one more point you can write sentence. This closing state we are calling it as this is what close, right? The closing state we can call it as an up state. Closing up or down? Up low. Closer means what? One call allowed, all calls allowed. That then what state it is up state, upward. Open state means what? What state? Down state. The service is down. Service is up. Closer means what? Service is up. Closer means what? Closer means current is flowing. Current is flowing means what? Service is what? Upper. You got the light. The next one is what? Down. Open state means what? Service is down. What is half open state? Half open means what? All allowed, some allowed, all allowed. Some allowed means that is the half open state. A state half open. Closed means what? Open means it is called half open. Closed means what? Open means this is what half open, right? That's it, guys. అంతే కదా అయిపోయింది కదా ఇది అప్పు ఇది డౌన్ ఇది హాఫ్ ఓపెన్ అప్పు డౌన్ అప్పు డౌన్ అండ్ వాట్ closer means what guys? What state? Upward. Open state means what? Service is down. Half open means what? Half open, right? Half open means like the service is up state, down state, like unknown state. And like this is called what state? Unknown state. Yeah, unknown like K-N-O-W-N. Unknown. Unknown state, guys. Fine. Closer state. Closer means what? Upper. Open state means what? Down. Half open means what? Unknown. That is called what, guys? Unknown, right? There's a states, guys. Up state means what? All calls are allowed. Down state means what? No calls are allowed. Unknown state means what? That is the states of like circuit breaker. What is cascading failure? A failure of one microservice leads to the failure of dependent service. The chain reaction leads to entire system fail. Entire system what? Fail. Entire system fail. That is called what? Cascading fail. How to handle this cascading fail is using circuit breaker. Circuit breaker is given by resonance force library. Resonance force is a library. That library is predefined support. And given what pattern? Circuit breaker. Circuit breaker pattern is what state? Closed state, open state, half open state. The electrical half open state would be there. Second current closed state, okay. Full current, open state, half current, no current. Half open state is there. Or see, circuit breaker means there is a circuit, electrical circuit you built actually. Closed state means all calls allowed, open state means some calls are allowed, half open state means what? Understood, right? We just at the points. Are you written that Eureka servers, morning communication, all nodes written right? Sir. Right. In microservice architecture, failure of one microservice triggers failures of dependent service, leading to a chain reaction. Leading to a chain reaction that can cause what? Entire system fail. It's called cascading failure. Survey calls service A calls service B. Service B depends on service C. Service B calls what? Service B calls what? Service C. Service C fails. Then since service B is still waiting, this slow down the service B causing always delay service A. Multiple requests get stuck leading to the failure. Okay. Simply service A called what? Service B. Service B called what? Service C. Service C is failed. Then what happens? Service C failed. B is waiting and C is waiting. Then what? Crashed. Entire system is failed. Heading and fault tolerance. Fault tolerance, resilience, forces, circuit breaker. Circuit breaker. మీకు స్క్రీన్ కనిపిస్తున్నా లాస్ట్ ఒకటి కనిపిస్తుందా కనిపించలేదా కనిపిస్తుందా కనిపిస్తుందా లాస్ట్ మీ దగ్గర కనిపించలేదు కదరా మీ దగ్గర కనిపిస్తుందా ఈ పక్కన మీ దగ్గర లేకుండా కనిపిస్తుందా కనిపిస్తుందా నైస్ ఇది ఒకసారి చదవండి ఆన్సర్ చదువు Microservice architecture based on kind of failures in chain reaction నువ్వు కూర్చో నువ్వు చదువురా చదువు చదువురా కనిపిస్తుందా కనిపించలా మరి ఏం కొడుతున్నాడు చదివి రైట్ గా కంప్యూటర్ ఈ ముందు లేకు సురేఖండి సురేఖ ఫస్ట్ ఆన్సర్ చదువుతుంది బాబు వెనక యురేఖ నువ్వు రాయా తొందరగా వెనక వచ్చి కూర్చోవడం మైదా పిండి చెప్పమా కస్టడీ ఫెయిల్ కస్టడీ హ్యాపీ కాదురా క్యాస్కేడింగ్ వాట్ ఈస్ క్యాస్కేడింగ్
Microservice architecture failure on one microservice triggers failures independent.
కూర్చోవచ్చు నెక్స్ట్
What is cascading failure? Microservice architecture failure on
కూర్చోవచ్చు జ్యోతిష్ నువ్వు కూర్చొని ఎక్స్పెక్ట్స్ ఉన్నా నెక్స్ట్ నేను కూడా డాన్స్ చేస్తున్నాను చెప్పండి కదా Hey, what's the goal of circuit breaker pattern? Circuit pattern is a design pattern that prevent what? Cascading failures. When general cascading failures occurs, when one service depends on another service. So resonance force is library to implement circuit breaker. See, cascading failures are handled by circuit breaker pattern. Circuit breaker pattern implemented by resonance force. ఏం చెప్పి చెప్పండి cascading failures. Now, cascading failures. First, we know cascading failure. How can you prevent the cascading failure using circuit breaker pattern? How to implement circuit breaker means using what? See guys, before the resonance force guys, we have the circuit breaker is implemented by previously Netflix Hetrix is there. Hetrix, no? Hey, why I'm saying this words means some people still they are using Hetrix, old names they are pronounced generally. That time you don't think Satan sir is not discussed. Yesterday I told us Eureka. Eureka is a present trend. But some companies like old project they are using Zookeeper. They're using what? Zookeeper. Someone told the Zookeeper, you don't confuse. You think like, okay, Zookeeper is the old approach for the Eureka server. Present is what? Eureka. Someone said like Hitrix means what? Someone said what? Hitrix. Hitrix is given by Netflix. That is a duplicate actually. But someone still said like what? Hitrix. Okay. They are using still Hitrix, but present is what? Hitrix is resonance for Jena. Clarity. First, we should get the clarity about what? Cascading failure. How can you prevent the cascading failure? Circuit breaker. How to prevent circuit breaker? First, you should know cascading failure. Cascading failures are prevented by circuit breaker is implemented by అట్లే పనికొస్తుందా పనికొస్తుందా టీచింగ్ కి బిడ్డ అరే యూజ్ For example, then, what is circuit breaker is done? There is a circuit breaker. Resistance 4J. What are the circuit breaker implementations? Right. Fault tolerance in the sense handling handling what? Cascading failures. గివ్ సమ్ గ్యాప్ ఇన్ ద ప్రాపర్టీ టు ప్రాపర్టీ, కొంచెం గ్యాప్ ఇచ్చి రాయండి, మరి ప్యారల్ రాసినట్టు రాయండి మాకండి. Sliding window size, failure rate threshold. If the failure rate reaches exceeded 50%, the circuit breaker moves to what? Hey, how much time it is a wait duration in open state? 5 seconds I given, right? That period is called cool down period. The name itself like what? Cool down period. Cool down period means what? Any calls are expected, no calls are. What is a cool down period? The wait duration in open state is called what period? Cool down. Automatic transition from open to half open state enabled. How much time it is there in the open state? That period is what period? Cool down. Yesterday class we discussed one period, self preservation moment. Instead of evicting all the microservices, the Eureka server is entering into what? Self preservation mode. Like complete, huh? Made, for complete, huh? All the state transition that in circuit breaker. Closer to what state? Open. Open to off open. Off open to close the open. Yeah, you write the points in the field in blank. Closed state means what? Closed state to. I think you have to convert it as a fill in the blanks. Open state to closed state. Closed state to open state to closed state. All states. Hey, written morning synchronous communication notes given up. Check కదా రాశాను కదా మీరు పర్లేదు ఇప్పుడు చేయకూడదు Hey, completed. Hey, stop writing this on small much. Hey, we have the fallback mechanism. What mechanism? Fallback. You book the cabs. When you book the cab, booking service you are called. What service? Booking service. You book the cab, you are calling the booking service. Cab booking service, booking service STP you call. That booking service will trigger the cab availability services. Two different services. Booking service is different, cab availability is different. Cab availability is think about nearby cabs are available or not. Booking service is think about from source to destination what you are booking and what ID you are booking like that. Booking service is different, cab availability service is different. Booking service, you made a call to what? Availability service. So customer is trying to call the booking service. Booking service is trying to call what service based on? Cab availability service. Assume that cab availability service is not responding properly. Maybe network failure. Maybe due to server load is there. Maybe server load is there. Is not responding. Is what? Not responding. When he is not responding, otherwise the real data is not there. Maybe real data is not available. Real data means what? Original caps are not available. Then what happened then? Real data is not there, or network load is there, or network load or server load is there, network issues are there, server load is there, otherwise what? Either server load, either network issue, or real data is not there. Real data is what? Not there. Booking service triggered the cab availability service. Then what happened? You don't keep on send the request to what? Cab availability service because he's responding, not responding, or not responding. When he's not responding, I send the failure rate. Failure rate is what? More than the failure rate threshold. When the failure rate is more, you enter into what? Closed state, what state gets here? Open state. You enter into what? Closed state to open state. They tell me when you enter the closed state to what? What state? Open state. Any calls are you sending up? No, you are not sending any calls. But see, there is no data is there. There is no server load or real data is not there. See, in Ola Uber, the data is not there. He's saying that cabs are not available. He's showing all the autos and cabs are. All autos and what? Cabs. Even what? When you make a call to cab availability service, but cab availability service are there or not there? Are not there. Even not there, it's showing error messages, showing all the cabs are. Showing all the cabs. It means one microservice is calling another microservice. If another microservice is not responding properly, you don't tell to client saying that what? Cabs are not available. Instead of showing what? Cabs are not available. You show the message is what? Instead of showing cabs are not available, you show the some dummy data. What data, guys? Dummy data. Like previously cached data, like previous data, right? Previous data. What data, guys? Your previous data. The data is called fallback data. The data is what? Fallback data. What is the fallback data means? When you call a microservice, if the real data is not available, don't give the bad experience to the user. Instead of showing the bad experience, give what? Some dummy data user. What data? Dummy data. That data is called fallback data. When the real service is not responding properly, your code, you are entering to what state, guys? Here, open state. You're in the closed state. You don't keep on send the request because it's responding, not responding. Not responding, failure rate is more. Failure rate means what? You don't send the request, you wait some time in what? What state? Open state. I ask multiple times, Raju, give me, Raju, give me, Raju, give me. Raju is not giving. Don't ask multiple times. You enter into what? What state? Open state. After open state, wait some time, half an hour. After half an hour, you come back. What state? Half open state. Again ask Raju. Raju giving or not? Once he is giving properly, yeah, go for what state? Closed state. Otherwise, what state? Any one microservice is calling another microservices. If the network down or server is load is more, like real data is not available, you don't say like caps are not available. If caps are not available, then who will use your application, right? That's what they are showing. The caps are not available. They are showing the dummy data now. This is called fallback data. If a real communication is failed, don't say like communication failed and don't see the bad response to the user. Instead of bad response is what? Fallback response. It is called fallback response, guys. What a fallback response tell me? If a real service is not available,
Then so dummy.
don't show like service is down. Instead of showing service is down, you show what? Fallback. When the real service is like that's what guys, they're going for the cab driver is waiting like what do you say? Cab అదంటారు కదా క్యాబ్ ఈ మీరు క్యాబ్ అంటారు కదరా చేసినప్పుడు డైరెక్ట్ బుక్ అయితే ఈస్ ఆస్కింగ్ లైక్ క్యాబ్ కెప్టెన్ ఈస్ వెయిటింగ్ ఫర్ యాక్సెప్టింగ్ అనేది వస్తుంది కదా ప్రసాద్ if really that many cabs are there, why captain is waiting for accept? Anyone can accept, right? Really available. But after this, you got it right. If really that many cabs are there, anyone captain will accept, right? But the drivers are what ready to take the drive, right? Who will wait for the until it's not like that. So if the communication is failed, instead of showing what? Instead of what? Instead of showing what? Real data. Showing what? Fallback data. Hey, in the reels, some chain is there. No? If the kid is not eating the food, father will make the mother master, right? Suicide. Mother went to the office, father in the home. Small kid eating food or not eating? Not eating. Oh, father is what the father will do? Mask of what? Mask of? If real data is not there, what we have? What is saying that mother is not there? If mother is not there, he will drink milk. Son or what father will do? The makeup kadra mask is kontra solra YouTube lo కనిపిస్తుందా that is called what? Fallback. What data?
Fallback.
If real data is not there, so what? Fallback data. Using your fallback data, you are happy saying, oh, mother, but mother is there, not there. Mask is there. Mask is there. What is that? Hey, that's like fallback data, guys. That is called, cab services. All cab services are fallback data. What data, guys?
Fallback data.
If real data is not available, don't say the cabs are not available to the user. If you do something like that, no one will use your, application, right? Yes, sir. That is called what data? Fallback data. Even offers time also, they were like Tatkal tickets are 150. Tatkal tickets are what? When you start the application, they said like 75. If 75 is available, they need to book the ticket, right? At final, they said, oh, what transaction is failed, right? Transaction is what?
Failed.
That 150 is the, what you can say, fallback data. Real data na fallback data na. If it is a real data means it has to book the ticket, right? If the real service is not responding properly, instead of saying that real service is not available, they are showing what data is here. That is called fallback data. Hey, I'll implement this all the mechanism practically by tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll show you this is your service is upstate. You have two services, right? I will show you the upstate, downstate to unknown state. I will show you that the failure rate thresholds at half open state, how much time it is in the duration. And I will show you the fallback response. You stop the target service. Cab services are not available. Then don't say like cabs are not available. Say what message? Dummy message. What message, ma? So you are calling exchange rate, but this exchange rate is not responding because the service is down. If the service is down also, you will get the response like what response? So fallback response. What response? I will give you 10 rupees by default exchange rate. That is what response. Original response or fallback response? I will do that is all practical in tomorrow books. Clear, sir? Write the points. How many points written as of now? These are completed. That's all for the day, guys. You take the pics better.